Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Fireside Chat on role-based access control. Today's presenters are Anshul Sharma, which is our Vice President of Products, and Vishaka Vave, who is our Vice President of Product Innovation. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please add your questions in the questions box. We will be pausing periodically to ensure your questions are answered. If you'd prefer to voice your question, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll go ahead and unmute you. As usual, you can download today's presentation to follow along or keep as a reference. You can find that in the handout section. This webinar will be recorded and shared with you along with the presentation via email 1 hour after the webinar ends, and will also be made available on our YouTube channel. And we're going to give folks just a couple of minutes to let everyone get logged on and get their audio sorted. We'll give it 1 to 2 minutes. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Team, if you're all set up, you can take it away.
Thank you, Roshio. A very good morning to all of you. Thank you for taking the time today to be with us for the next hour or so. Roshio, can you confirm if you can hear me well?
Yes, confirmed.
Okay, thank you. As Roshio mentioned, I will be partnering with Anshul Sharma, who's a co-presenter, and we will be shifting the control between both of us based on the section that we are presenting. So let's get started. So the topic for today's webinar is role-based access control. And what we would like to do in the next hour or so is to give our audience a good overview of how we have envisioned and designed role-based access control in Prism. So we'll give you an idea of what are the different experiences and personas that we support for our users. And we'll also do a click down on the levels of accesses and the standard roles that we support for each of these personas. We will then take a few slides to talk in detail about how do we control the health related data that is put on Prism, so which is the compliance data. What controls do we have in place to ensure that oversharing does not happen for your users? And then the last part of it, we'll briefly talk about the custom roles that we can support for you, followed by, in the last part, polls and questions. So role-based access control is an evolving functionality in Prism. Although we've come a long way and we do support all the major requirements and needs that our clients have in terms of role-based access control, we are evolving it even further to give you a more finer control over who gets to see what and work with what. So it's evolving, and for that we need your partnership. So we'll be asking you feedback and questions for your preferences sprinkled across this webinar. So you'll get polls that you can respond to. And we will also take logical breaks every now and then to address any comments or questions that you put in the questions box throughout the webinar. So feel free to do that or raise your hands. Moving along. So we do have 2 controls on how we've designed role-based access control in Prism. One is data access. So what kind of data does a user have access to? And what kind of features and functionality do they have access to? Not every persona or user has the same set of features. So those are the 2 overarching controls that we have. And then any specific role combines these 3 points that we have mentioned here. So they will get access to a particular experience or persona, which we also refer to as a module. So we have an administrator module, we have a faculty module, we have a student module. Through these three modules, we can control what kind of Prism experience do you get as a user. The second point is data access level. So depending on the data access that you have been provided as a user, that will also govern what features and capabilities you get access to. So a combination of these three factors is going to define what you as an individual user can or cannot view or edit into the Prism system. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to provide you with a tool where you can effectively collaborate between all the stakeholders, keeping in mind the FERPA and the HIPAA regulations that you have to adhere or comply with. So I'll start off by giving you an overview of all the different personas or experiences that we support in Prism. And the first persona here is the administrator persona. This is typically a person who would have higher level of data access and privilege. They typically have full data access, and they also get to define what the remainder of users or stakeholders in their program have access to or can, what privileges do they have. So administrator will, using the product, be able to define what their faculty and staff are able to access or view, what their students are able to access and view, and what is shared with the other two personas, which are the clinical supervisors or the site staff. Keep in mind that each of these personas may further have various tiers or various levels of roles defined. So we do have a standard list of roles that we offer that come out of the box, and Anshul is going to talk more about them. But within the administrator persona, we will show you how there are 10 to 12 roles that we support, and each one of them is slightly different when it comes to what privileges and data access they have. And so on. So in today's webinar, we'll focus more on number 1 and number 2, which is the administrator role and the faculty and staff role. The remaining 3 roles, the student role is pretty straightforward. There's only one role called student role. And what the students are able to access really depends on some of the setups and configurations that the administrator controls. And so we will not spend a lot of time talking about the student role. We have had a student-focused webinar that walks our audience through what is the student experience. So you can refer to that. It's already available on our YouTube channel, so you can access that. But basically, students get access to their curriculum and the tasks that they're supposed to fulfill, and any information that the program wishes to share with them. We also have very lightweight personas that we support. One is the clinical supervisor, and different domains will either call it clinic CI or preceptor or fieldwork supervisor. So depending on the domain, the terminology will be different, but basically these are the personnel that oversee or mentor students at placements. And they have very limited data access to Prism. So whatever the administrator shares with them via a delegate link. So this will be typically regarding a particular placement for a particular student that they are mentoring for a rotation, and it will give them access to specific learning activities or student profiles that are shared with them. So when they open that link, they will only be able to see those specific pages for that placement or that learning activity or that for that student profile. So it's a very limited access. They cannot access any other data or our entire Prism product, so to speak. They do not even have a login into the system. So they predominantly get access via these delegate links that they receive in their emails. Very similar, the site staff persona. So if there is a site personnel that is collaborating with you, either because they are providing you with slot availability or updating site information, or you are sending them a placement details email, giving them some specific details about the placement about the student that's going to visit their site, then again, it behaves exactly the same way as a clinical supervisor. They'll get a link via an email. They open that link, and only that specific information is shared with them. So those are our lightweight personas that we support. For administrator, we'll go into the details in the upcoming slides, as well as the faculty and staff persona. So let's keep moving. So this is how, depending on the persona, depending on your role, you will get either of these experiences if you are a school user, right? So if you have been given the administrator role, more likely than not, when you log in, this is the kind of dashboard that you're going to see. And as you can see here, you get the full set of features and functionality that Prism has to offer, be it user management for students, for faculty and staff, or compliance management at a program level, be it curriculum management, so the ability to design your curriculum, your courses, or map your curriculum to standards, or be it placement management. So your entire repository of your sites, your personnel, your placements, and your learning activities. So this is what we call the administrator persona. Next is the faculty persona. So if you have been given a faculty role in Exxat, then more likely than not, when you log in, you're going to see a dashboard like this, and it looks slightly different than the administrator persona or login. And that is by design, because when you log in as a faculty, you mainly get to access data for which you have been provided access to by your program administrator. So I'll show you how that is done, but an administrator associates a faculty with specific courses, students, and placements, and based on that, the faculty can then see their courses, their students or advisees, and their placements. So it's a very targeted data set that they get access to. And the third is the student persona, and again, their dashboard looks slightly different, because here they are looking at all the courses that they are registered to. They're looking at all the compliance that they have been asked to complete, and they're looking at all the learning activities that they have to complete as part of their coursework. You also see some additional tiles for resources that the school have shared with them, and clinical locations that are available for exploring. And some of these are customizable. So only if an administrator wants their students to see published slots or explore clinical locations, only then the students will be able to see that. And Anshul will be talking a little more about how these can be customized from an administrator login, but that's the student persona. So today we are not going to deep dive into the student persona. So the next set of slides is where Anshul is going to talk about, do a click down on the data access and how data access can be controlled. But before I hand it off to Anshul, one call out that I have is, here we're using the term faculty experience and administrator experience, but I just want to call out that we do understand that most administrators are faculty, and faculty can have administrator access as well as faculty access. So here, when we say the faculty persona, we're not really talking about whether the user is a faculty or not, but what access are they being provided, or what role are they being provided in Exxat. So I just wanted to call that out, so we don't confuse the literal meaning of faculty with the role faculty as we speak of it in today's webinar. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Anshul. And Anshul, I'm happy to change the slides when you ask me to. So take it on.
Yeah, thank you, Vishaka, and good morning, everyone. So first, we'll talk about what are the different levels of access we have for school users. Vishaka briefly touched upon these. So the highest level of access is that of a university administrator. They have access to data across all the programs. Then the next level is program administrator. They have access to data only for their program or programs in case they are managing multiple programs. our product allows one user to manage multiple programs if that's how the university is operating. Third level of access is program faculty. They get access to subset of data within their programs, again based on association. So if you're if you're teaching a course, you get access to students who are registered to that course. If you are advising certain students, you get access to their data. That's the third level. And the lowest level is program student, who only have access to their data and their program. We'll dig deeper into first three. So first is university level access. Now there are three functionalities which are offered at university level. First is user management. As part of this, you can see how many users you have who are using Prism, what roles each of them are playing, what is the definition of each of those roles. We'll cover some of those definitions in subsequent slides. You can also see how many people have which role. So you get two kinds of view. You can see the list of roles as well as you can see the list of users. Second functionality is contract and site management. As part of this, you can manage site information as well as the information of contracts that you have with your sites. And third one is compliance management. As part of it, you can manage the compliance functionality for your application. We have three supported roles at university level. First is university super administrator. They have access to all of these three functionalities, no restrictions. Second is contracts officer. Their capabilities are restricted only to site and contract management. And the third is compliance officer. As you would guess, they can only manage compliance. This is the level of control we provide at university level. Now, one thing I want to call out is this role is applicable only to certain types of contracts with Exxat. If there is a university who is managing multiple programs and they need this kind of access, then they get it. And it is dependent on what kind of contract you have with Exxat. So in case this is the first time you are hearing it, because this is in a very limited launch right now, and you want to have access to this role, you can reach out to your account manager and figure out they will be able to guide you through the process of getting access to university level roles. Next slide, please. Next is program level access and roles. This is the core of Prism. This is Prism as most of the administrators know and see. We offer maximum functionality here. There were 11 different functionalities which Vijak had shown in one of the earlier slides in the admin persona. And we also offer the most widest range of roles. There are 4 program administrator roles with some variations. Then 6 program administrator roles, which are very limited in nature, and then 1 program faculty role. I will talk about each of these in subsequent slides. Next slide, please. Yeah. So let's first go through the 4 roles with most privileges. At the highest level is full access role. As you would guess, you have access to entire data repository and the full feature set of Prism as part of this role. The next variation of it is everything minus a capability called as process my request. A lot of our clients use this role because they do not use my request as a functionality to request slots or to make placements. So they are the users of this kind of a role. And the third role is administrator without compliance. This role helps our customers to differentiate between responsibilities of compliance and everything else, because compliance is very sensitive data. There are HIPAA considerations along with it. So various universities want to give different levels of access to different administrators, and this role enables that. So this administrator can do everything but not access compliance. And the last one is a combination of like both the restrictions, again self-explanatory. You don't have access to my request, as well as you cannot access compliance. So these are our 4 roles with most privileges. Let's talk about some limited access roles. First 3 of them are based on different personas which we have understood over a period of time working with our customers. First role is an admin role where you are focused on managing curriculums. This role provides access to courses, curriculum mapping, faculty and staff functionalities outside of the 11 which Vishakha had shown earlier. And it also gives you access to some limited information in the student. Second role is based on a contract coordinator persona. This is this gives access to 3 capabilities: program, like program setup, site management, and processing my request. And the third one is based on a student worker persona. They have access to only program and site modules. We have also learned over a period of time that a lot of our clients prefer giving a separate access to administrator for managing sites data only. And this is what led us to build the site only access role. That's the 4th role here. 5th one is what I want to spend some time on. This is administrator role with approve only access. This role is complementary to the role which we saw in the previous slide, which was the admin role without compliance. This role gives access to only the compliance data and alongside that the student data. So this complements that role. And this role is used by customers, 2 types of customers who are either only using Prism for compliance and nothing else, or they are having different people taking care of compliance and other administrators taking care of other capabilities. And the last is a read-only access role. This provides access to entire features and entire data, but it's only a view access. You cannot make changes, you cannot edit or process any transactions. This is again just to enable you to see what is happening and do some audits, but you cannot take actions. So now how we arrived at these 10 different roles, that is based on the needs which we have understood from clients who have worked with till date. We have 1,000+ programs on Prism, and these are the most common requests which have come up, which we have heard, and that is how we came up with this list of 10 different administrator roles. Next is program faculty, and to talk about it, I will pass it on to Vishakha.
Thanks, Anshul. So program faculty is mainly the faculty persona that I talked about earlier. And this is at a program level. So the universe of data is for a particular program or school, whether it's PT, OT, PA, nursing, whatever school we're talking about. And it's a limited data access because what you get to see here is based on what the faculty or the user is associated with in terms of which courses do they help manage, which students do they advise, and which placements are they overseeing. Today, we only support one flavor of a program faculty role. However, the data that you have access to is based on 3 anchors. So I'm going to show you what those 3 anchors are within this role. In the future, we are actively brainstorming on evolving this faculty role to provide more flavors and more finer control on the data. So some of the things that you can expect in the future regarding the program faculty is tiers of access built within a course. Now we know that some programs have team taught courses where there is a course director or a course coordinator or a course manager who has the maximum privileges for that course. They are basically responsible for the smooth running of their course. So they should have all the access for that course. But they have 5 or 6 other faculty who are instructors in that course, and they only come briefly, teach their part, help with some exam questions, but they don't necessarily need to have access to all the students registered for that course or all their performance data. So we are working on creating those tiers within a course that would give you that finer control. So that is in our upcoming releases, we'll be rolling those out. We are also talking about the need for some programs to have their faculty contribute to student self-placement requests, which we call as my request functionality in our product, right? So today, only administrators can process the student requests for placements, but some programs have the need and they have expressed that they would like their course faculty to help the administrators with that. So today, course faculty are not able to do that. So we are thinking of bringing that functionality as well to the faculty role with configurability, right? So your administrator can decide whether they want to engage their faculty with this functionality or not. The third thing is ability for course faculty to contribute to placement decisions. That request has also come up, so that is under consideration. And then access to sites. So some programs like to involve their faculty to populate some data related to their sites and personal relationships. So that's another thing that's under consideration. So these are some of the future things that you can expect. So now I'll talk about what our current standard program faculty role gives you. So there are 3 levels of data access within the standard faculty role. You can be associated as a faculty to courses, and your administrator will do that. So an administrator will go into the Prism product and they will go to particular courses and say, hey, Dr. Bhave is the course manager, course coordinator for this course. And when they do that, the faculty, when Dr. Bhave logs in using their account, they'll be able to see that under their courses, and they will have full control over that course, over student registration, over the learning activity setup of that course, all of that. So, so as a course faculty, the faculty is able to build and manage the course. They are able to access all the learning activities and set up all the learning activities for students who are registered to that course. And they are also able to contribute to curriculum mapping for their courses. So these are the overarching 3 functionalities or control that a faculty gets via their association with a course. Similarly, if a faculty is tagged as a placement faculty, then they would have limited access to the learning activities for that placement. So they're able to review the learning activities for any placement that they have been tagged to as a placement faculty. So that is a subset of a course. So a course may have 50 students, but a placement faculty will not have access to learning activities of all those 50 students. They will only have access to those 2 or 3 students where they are tagged as a placement faculty, right? For you to have access to all the students registered to a course, you should be associated as a course faculty, not a placement faculty. So that's a very small subset of data that you can get access to. And then you can also get access to student data for your advisees. So if you are advising a student, then you get access to learning activities from all the courses that your advisee is registered to. So this is a different anchor. So because you are helping that student, you're mentoring that student and helping them through their academic performance. So that's why you do get the privilege to see how they're performing on all the courses that they are registered to, but only for the students that you advise. So these are the 3 anchors for data access within a faculty role that we support. And I'm briefly going to show you, we've covered this in detail in our faculty webinar that happened a few weeks ago. So do check out that webinar if you want details on how this role works. But basically what I'm briefly going to show you is, as an administrator, how do you make the correct associations and provide that correct level of data access for your faculty. So when you, as an administrator, when you log in and click on any faculty, you will see their associations here. And this is where you can even modify their association. So you get to define what courses, what students, and what placements you want to associate that faculty with. So you can click here on a course and you can say, I want to associate these 2 faculty for this course. And when these faculty log in, they will see these courses and have access to these courses from where they can manage this course. Similarly, you can go to a student profile and associate a particular faculty and staff to that student as an advisee or as a mentor. And that's how they will get access to that student's profile and learning activities across the student's courses. And you could even go to a placement card and say that this faculty is going to oversee this placement from the school side, and that's how that faculty will get access to all the placement related details and learning activities just for that placement, which is basically that particular student going to a particular rotation at a particular location or site. So once all these associations are made, when the faculty logs in, this is what they see, right? They will see only the courses that they are associated with, only their own advisees, and only their student placement. They will not see data from any other students or courses. They will also see mapping access for their courses. So if they have access to 24 courses, they will be able to edit and view the mapping for those 24 courses. Okay, so I'm going to take a brief pause here, and Rocio, if you can bring up any comments or questions that our audience have asked so we can address them. Rocio, any questions?
Not seeing any questions, Vishaka.
Okay, in that case, we'll keep moving in the interest of time. So we do have a couple of poll questions at this point. So if you could please respond to these poll questions for us, it helps us evolve our product in an informed way.
All right, folks, I'm going to be launching the first poll that you see on the screen here. If you have any additional functionalities you would like to control within the faculty role, you can select any of those options. I'm going to go ahead and launch that for you, and feel free to select all that apply there. And we'll give it about 20 more seconds here before I close the poll. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here and share the results with you all. Oh, I'm not sure why that shows up as 0. I did have 33% of you that voted.
Maybe it's a glitch.
Yeah, that's so strange. Can you guys let me know in the questions box if you guys were able to select options for the poll? I just want to make sure, you know, that was working properly. Okay. I'll have to double check that once this webinar ends, Vishaka, just to see. Okay, I have a comment here from Ashley. I chose not to select any of the options and hit submit. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. So it might have been that they didn't choose any of those.
Sure. And if any of the audience want to, give their preferences in the questions box because they did not see a suitable response or option, feel free to do that. We will collect and review those responses after the webinar. Okay. Should I share my screen again, Rocio?
Did you want me to open up the next poll?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open up the next one. So the next question here for you all is going to be, if it was possible, would you grant course faculty access to patient log data completed by students for previous courses or placements? And you can let us know if this is something that your faculty should be able to view. All right, we'll give it a couple more seconds here, and then we'll go ahead and close the poll. And then I'll share the results with you all. All right, we're going to go ahead and move into the next question here. So if possible, would you grant access to patient log data completed by students to placement faculty? Now, this would be a faculty that doesn't necessarily manage a course, but just an individual placement for a single student. So if they should also be able to view that information, go ahead and answer that for us there. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and close that poll and share the results with you here. All right. Vishaka, do you want me to open up the next one as well?
Yes, please.
The next one, okay, perfect. So the next question here that we have is, at your program, who contributes to curriculum mapping? So whether that's course faculty, a central person, who could be, let me see here, I have some terms for you. If it's a central person, like
it could be a curriculum chair, accreditation self-study committee chair. We've seen two models, one model where individual course faculty contribute to the mapping for their course, and then we've seen a central committee doing it for the entire curriculum. So what model do you follow at your program? It'll help us think through how we want to give you the control for managing curriculum mapping access for your faculty.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and close that poll here and share the results with you.
Okay.
All right, back over to you, Shaka.
All right. Let me see if, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we did all these polls, and thank you for providing your feedback to us. This does help us evolve our role-based access. All right, so then the next section here is compliance data and how we control that. And Anshul is going to walk us through the next few slides because there are HIPAA considerations. So we did want to take extra time to talk about that. So Anshul, over to you.
Thank you, Vishaka. So first we'll talk about what are the levels of compliance, accesses, and privileges we provide to the program administrator persona. So this goes from the lowest level to highest level till the fourth row. So first is no compliance access. We talked about this. This role, standard role without compliance, provides that. Second level of access is that as an administrator, you can see the status of the compliance, whether a student is compliant or not, or their compliance is pending review, or they have not even started. You can see the status, but that's it. You cannot open the documents associated with that compliance. One level higher is ability to view the compliance document as well. So when you say compliance document, it has the requirements, it has the proof of that compliance submitted by the student in terms of a PDF, any sort of a file, vaccination proofs, for example, and you can view that. And the highest level is editing the compliance documents. This is again a standard role. Prism Administrator Full Access gives this capability, and every other role where compliance is not restricted gives this capability. So the first level and the last level are our standard roles. We also have capability to give the fine-grained access through custom roles. We'll talk about custom roles at the end of today's discussion. Custom role means that these roles are specifically curated for your requirement. That's the definition, and we'll talk more about it at the end. Last thing is that sometimes you do not want to just have a blanket decision around viewing compliance documents or not. Sometimes, in general, you are okay providing access to the compliance documents, but there are some sensitive documents where all the administrators should not have access, and you only want very specific people in your program or in your university to have that access. So this is also supported in the product. So you can restrict access to sensitive document. For example, an example would be a criminal background check, right? You may choose to treat that as sensitive. So while an administrator can access other documents, but not this one. The way to do this is to submit a support request to us, and we make that configuration change in the product for you. Let's see how these things look in our product. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so so the dashboard which Vishakha had shown earlier, you can choose compliance from there and come to a summary tab, and this tab shows the status of compliance for every student of your program against every compliance requirement you have. And here you can see that different status are visible: approved, get started, expired, not approved, etc. And if you have only if you have access to only view the status, then that's it. You cannot go beyond the screen and click on the status to see more details. But if you do have access to view compliance documents, then you can click on this status and you see the next screen. Shaka, could you move? Yeah. So so a drawer opens up which gives the details of this document. So in this case, we can see it's a TB PPT document. You can see the status, the reason why it is in this status, any comments. You can also see the vaccination proof document which is submitted by the student at the end. There are guidelines for the student which you can see, and guidelines for the person who is reviewing this document. Everything you can see here. And this same page also basically serves as both as view and edit page. If you have view only access, then you cannot take actions on this page. You can just view it. You can also view the document, but you can't make changes to the status or edit anything here. But if you have edit access as well, the same page, you can modify statuses, add a comment, or edit the documents linked on this page. So this covers the first three levels which you had talked about, or rather, yeah, the three levels of access which we talked about. We'll also show how a restricted access to sensitive, like how does system tell you that the access is restricted to a sensitive document. As you try to click on any of the statuses, if it's a sensitive document, this is the kind of message which prompts the user. Simply says access is denied for the sensitive document. And although this is configurable only through a support request to us, on the product side, we can go through the list of the documents and see which ones are sensitive. Next slide, please. So under compliance setup, where we have all the list of requirements, if we open up any requirement, in this case, criminal background check is the one, you'll see that that bit at the end, which is turned on for this document. So it is sensitive. It is marked sensitive. Now this is done from the back end. You cannot do this from the front end. We do this through a support request. What you can also do is you can actually click on the link below and see which users have access to those sensitive documents. By default, no users will have access, and we have to explicitly give access for sensitive documents to people. So that's the difference between a sensitive document versus others. Others by default, like basically everybody has access. Here we assume that nobody ideally should have access unless you explicitly tell us. So this is how access levels are controlled for compliance for administrator. Next is for faculty. How is compliance access controlled for faculty? This is actually very simple. Course and placement faculty do not have access to the compliance in the product. We have not seen a need for this. Our clients have not seen a need for this, and this is how our system restricts. It's a principle of least privilege. If you don't need access, we don't give the access. Student advisors see only their advisor's compliance status. Again, this is if you are acting in the role of an advisor for a student, you will be able to see the compliance status. But you cannot see their compliance documents because that's all is what they require for their role. So this is how compliance access is restricted for faculty persona. So we have a poll now. Rocio, could you bring this poll up for everyone to give feedback on?
Yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and open that up here. And so the question here is, for your program, do faculty advisors need access to compliance data for their advisees? And if the answer is yes, it might just be that they need to see status details, so whether that document is approved, expired, pending review, or do they also need to see the actual files? So you have those two different options there.
And the reason we are even collecting feedback on this is because we've seen programs that really do not have their advisor play any role in monitoring or managing student compliance. So then for them, it would be a no. But then we want to know if your program involves your faculty advisors in any capacity for managing compliance for their advice.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here and share those results with you all. And it looks like for you all, there is no need for this feature.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, this aligns with what we have understood as well, and what Vishaka was referring to. So thanks for your feedback. Let's move. We have a questions break now. So Rocio, could you bring up any questions posted by the audience for our attention?
We currently don't have any questions here yet from our audience.
Okay, Then we can go to custom roles, and this is our last topic for today. Okay, so we offer a varied set of roles, and most of our customers use those roles. In fact, those roles, as I said earlier, have evolved based on our understanding of working with 1,000+ programs. So they actually meet majority of the needs in academia. However, we understand that you may always have some special requirements which can only be solved through a custom role. So we work with you on such requests on case-by-case basis, and typical process of doing that is working through your account manager, discussing the need. Very often what we have seen is that once the discussions happen, we are able to use one of the existing standard roles itself with slight undersharing or slight oversharing, and that works out well for a lot of our customers. But we still have the ability to create custom roles. The only thing to remember is creating these roles and assigning these roles takes time, because we have to carefully for this specific role in the application, and this is custom driven, right, not out of the box. So it takes time to build these roles. So if by slight undersharing or slight oversharing, one of the existing roles can fit your needs, that is the most preferred route. So yeah, that's the last slide, and we have a poll question. Yeah.
We do have a question here from Ashley. In the administrator view, is it possible to have a view as a faculty option? Looking for something similar to the view as student option. Thanks.
I can
Yeah,
take
so
this
that,
issue.
yeah, you can
Go
answer
ahead.
that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, Ashley, we are aware that actually quite a few of our clients have asked this question to us, and it has been on our roadmap, but now we know that it's coming. So our product team is actually building this role right now. So very soon you're going to be able to see a view as for faculty, just like you have a view as for students. And that will help our school administrators to help out their faculty when in need, rather than they having to go through Exxat support. So you'll be quickly able to help your faculty with any issues they're having with their role-based access control. So yes, that is currently being built, and it's going to come out soon.
Okay, is there any other question, Roshio?
No, that was the only question there.
Okay, then let's administer this poll.
All right, so next up we have this question here. So what features and functionality would you like to be configurable for a student experience? And what we mean by configurable is that you have the ability to decide if that's something they should see or not. So you'd be able to turn that on, turn that off. And we have two options there listed for you. But of course, there may be other items as well. So if there is something else that you can think of, you can always add it in the questions box for us, or if any of those two options, viewing published slots, explore clinical locations, if that's something you think should be customizable on your end, you can go ahead and select those options there. All right, we'll give it about 10 more seconds here, and then we'll go ahead and close the poll. And then I'll go ahead and share that with you all. So it looks like some of you want to customize these on your end here.
Which is good to know. Today we do support this partially, but from the back end. But soon we are working towards bringing these controls on your product. So as an administrator, you'll be able to customize this from the setup section of your login. And so that's what we are working towards. But it's good to get the validation that both of these are good candidates for customization. So thank you for that feedback.
All right, and our last poll for the day that we have here is if any of these scenarios apply to your program, let us know. So there's a few different scenarios here. That first one is maybe a student at your program requires access to 2 programs simultaneously, meaning they have a dual degree. The second item on that list there, maybe you have a student from one program, which can be a graduate degree, requires access to another program that may be an undergraduate degree of the same university because maybe they teach there. So if that's something that has happened in the past or is currently happening, let us know. And the last one there is a faculty member requiring access to multiple programs of the same university. So if any of these three, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Roshi, just a clarification for option number 2, it's actually asking you if a user needs access as a student and as a faculty, because they may be a student in a graduate program like a PhD, but they act as an instructor or helping teach a course in an undergraduate program. So would a user ever need access to a student module as well as a faculty module? So go ahead, and if there is a scenario that you don't see as an option and you would like to call it out, then please feel free to type that into the question section and we'll collect it after the webinar. Or feel free to unmute yourself and even let us know about it.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here and share that information with you.
Okay.
All right.
So good to know. Yep. So thank you for your feedback. I think we are at the end of this webinar. Any other questions or comments that we can address for you?
Not seeing any questions or comments, Vishaka.
All right, then passing it on to you, Roshi, so you can wrap it.
All right, wonderful. All right, and that brings us to the end of this webinar. If you have a few minutes, we'd love to hear from you. Stick around when this webinar ends for a short survey to let us know how we're doing, what can be improved, and any additional topics you'd like to see in the future. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.